crystal. It's like playing out of a wine glass. So be patient.
Can we talk about how insane that moment is from a historical perspective? Lizzo is playing James Madison's crystal flute. She's the first person to ever play that instrument. James Madison, like all founding fathers, was a complicated person, but he wasn't that complicated, right? He enslaved people. He never freed a single slave in his entire life, even in his death. He was the architect of the Three-Fifths Compromise that allowed the southern slave-owning states, of which he was from, to count enslaved people as 3/5 of a human being, right? He was also the president of the American Colonization Society that basically said, you know what, black people, even if they are free, are never going to be able to fully integrate into white American society. So let's just ship them off to a new country we founded called Liberia. James Madison's crystal flute, I can't think of a more perfect symbol of the wealth and excess of the enslaving aristocracy that many of our founding fathers were a part of. The fact that that flute is being played by a black woman in DC, the capital of our country that was built on slave labor, in front of cheering crowds. Amazing.
Recording artist Lizzo made history playing James Madison's crystal flute. Some folks, though, not too happy.
To me, it's just kind of like, I don't think disrespectful is the right word, but is desecration?
Yeah.
Desecration of
This
historical
is a really important
artifacts?
piece of history. It's a really neat piece of history. It's beautiful. And she just...
Her buttocks flailing up and down, making the clap noise, adds value to this historical thing. And now, when we think of James Madison's flute, we think of the wonderful booty of Miss Lizzo.
I just kind of feel like, you know, we're on the verge of World War III, and Vladimir Putin's sitting back in his chair and he's watching this and he's like, yeah, it's all over.
And when you look at Chinese TikTok and their algorithm and you compare it to the American TikTok and what is shown to our children here, that it's captivating so much of their attention span that YouTube is trying to copy every thing that TikTok is right now, you see a huge difference with what is represented to the children of China that are limited on the platform only to, I believe, an hour or 2 hours per day. They're shown educational content. They're shown content that informs them about things that about their culture, about their society, about things that they could be doing, art, math, science, all of that is prioritized. Here, twerking, sexuality, degeneracy, idiocy, hurting people, making fun of people, and normalizing obesity, normalizing castration, normalizing some of the most craziest ideas, which some people would hint at is a form of fifth generational warfare, with people being brainwashed and doing things that essentially hurt them, their families, their communities, and eventually the country.
And of course, who else than conservatives are really, really ticked?
Lizzo. I can't believe that people are celebrating Lizzo. Now she go get James Madison's flute, and somehow they gave it to her. And I would argue that this is probably a sacred artifact that should be delicately treated and honorably presented. But somehow, in our society today, this is honorable. This is what young women should aspire to be. Like, you can't make this stuff up. So she can't be classy. The stuff that she say, the vocabulary that she use is atrocious to me. And I'm going to criticize you. You have the right to get on stage and look like a slut and walk around twerking with James Madison flute when our society used to be more honorable. Maybe some woman who's more elegant and professional and modest could play the flute in such a beautiful way. But now they put the nasty one up there to get up there and shake her. I ain't gonna say that. Woo, I'm trying to be saved, Lord. I don't want to say bad things about people.
The thing is, you already did.
That's Brandon Tatum. Very close with Candace Owens. Used to work with Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk. Frequent visitor to the White House. Loves himself some Donald Trump.
Let's be honest about this. Conservatives absolutely love to go after Lizzo for a myriad of reasons. They despise her for going after their precious god, Donald Trump. Tommy Lauren went after her on Twitter, as Tommy's prone to do, and Lizzo responded with how dear leader is dividing us and fueling hatred, an opinion that is not the least bit controversial. They have body shamed her over and over and over again. She told NBC News, it's fat phobic, it's racist, and it's hurtful. What I won't accept is y'all doing this to black women over and over again, especially us big black girls. When we don't fit into the box that you want to put us in, you just unleash hatred onto us. It's not cool. These people who are saying this are probably the same people who are mad when I'm being hypersexual, and the mammy trope is actually completely desexualized, she said. So it can't both be true. Make it make sense. I really think people are just mad to see a fat black woman that makes pop music and is happy. With the Flute, which this man, James Madison, owned, along with owning, black people, it is the conservative Grand Slam. While much of the nation found this to be unobjectionable fun, a cadre of right-wing culture warriors immediately took to Twitter to denounce Lizzo playing Madison's flute as a woke assault on American history, wrote Brad Reed. To be woke is to be black, is how OK Player senior news and culture reporter Elijah Watson defined the black American colloquialism. Ironically, his research first turned up a 1962 New York Times essay, If You're Woke, You Dig It, by the then Harlem-based writer William Melvin Kelly, who was highlighting the phenomenon of black American slang being appropriated by white people who often missed or altogether distorted the words' original meanings until the idioms were taken over, inevitably transformed, and ultimately abandoned by their original black creators. Michael Harriot, a phenomenal writer at the Griot, would say, when you look at the long arc of history and America's reaction to the request for black liberation, every time black people try to use a phrase or coin a phrase that symbolizes our desire for liberation, it will eventually become a cuss word to white people. The Library of Congress really took out a 200-year-old flute that belonged to James Madison just so Lizzo could twerk with it. They degrade our history and then call you racist if you actually value it, wrote one. Everyone involved in the decision to allow Lizzo to twerk while playing James Madison's flute needs to be deported. I don't care if they're citizens. Deport them somewhere, wrote another. Lizzo playing James Madison's flute was a form of racial retribution, according to the woke left. And I actually have no doubt that this is part of the reason why the Library of Congress facilitated this spectacle. The thrilling musical moment came about after Librarian of Congress Carla Hayden, the first African American and the first woman to ever hold the position, tweeted an invitation to Lizzo on September 23rd to visit the library's flute collection while in D.C. on her current tour. The singer took Hayden up on the offer, visiting the Library of Congress on Monday, where she played several historical instruments.